What's going on, running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans? Welcome to Talking in Ovals. Hope everyone's doing well on this February 20th, 2023. Before we jump into a fun show, which we have a hell of a show for everyone tonight, please like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. Last week, Hyatt, hi, how are you? First off, hi, how are you?
Good. I just want to say, that track and field lost an absolute icon last night with the passing of Greg Foster. What an absolute legend. His legacy will live on forever. And just condolences to his family. He was just an absolute joy to watch compete, and he's going to be missed.
Yeah. We'll talking all as we obviously send our condolences out there completely and totally. Outside of that, Dave, how are you? Everything going well over there?
Yeah, man. All good.
All good. Let's get almost rolling. I just want to encourage everyone, go back in last week. You can hear Dave actually smiling throughout the whole podcast last week as we had on the legendary Johnny Gray, one of the greatest 800-meter runners of all time, definitely one of the greatest in American history. Such amazing time. We heard, I think, only stories that you're going to hear on Talking in Ovals he talked about. So go back, give that a listen. But this week we have a really cool show for everyone. We are doing what we're going to call the Knights of the Ovaltable. They are here. They have assembled. We got on a bunch of our former current coaches, but coaches that we've had on in the past few episodes, and they all agreed to come on, talk about some pretty big topics in track and field. So that's what we're going to do. So I want to let them introduce themselves one by one. Baker, who are you?
Scott Baker from Southern Regional, coaching 24 years there now. Cross country, indoor, outdoor track.
Awesome. Sean, who are you?
I'm Sean McCafferty, the assistant indoor and outdoor coach at CBA, the head cross country coach.
Tafelski, who are you?
I'm Chris Tafelski, voiceless as usual. I'm in my 18th year coaching at Westfield High School.
Nalvin, say hello to the people.
I'm Adam Nalvin. I'm the assistant track and field coach at South Brunswick High School. I'm my 20th year of coaching there, from middle school, indoor, high school, outdoor high school, every event pretty much possible.
Last but not least, Geiger. Tell the people who you are.
Stephen Geiger, head girls track and field coach, cross country coach at Lacey Township. 17th year.
There you go. So we're going to do something a little different this time. Normally, Dave and I will do PRs. We'll go around and we'll talk about them. Since we have 5 coaches here, can I do my math? Yes, 5 coaches here. We're going to let them kind of gloat about their own teams. We had some big meets this weekend in the state of New Jersey. Geiger, we're going to start with you on the way down there. Anyone you want to shout out for Lacey?
So at the Group 3 state championship, I had Andrew Tatasher qualify in the 3,200. 9:54 at the sectional meet. He dropped another 2 seconds there. A little bit under the weather, running 9:52.85. What I did not send in the previous week at the Short Track Coaches Association in Ocean Breeze was Anna Roth resetting school record in the triple jump,
nice, going
35 feet 10 1/4. And our 4x200 breaking a school record from 2008, first time under 150, running 149.32.
Nice. Congratulations. Nalvin, what do you got over there?
We'll be moving 2 guys on to meet the champions. We'll have high jump, Demarion Potts, who took second in Group 4, and then moving on Jason Kaiser in the hurdles. So we'll have a couple guys up there at Ocean Breeze for the meet of champions.
Awesome. Tafelski, what do you got for us?
I got Tage Meta ran a 4:17, 1,600. Ryan Daly, 4:18, 1,600. And give some props to my boy Johnny Scalia going 157 in the 8 and then come back around 51.7 on the 4x4.
Awesome. McCafferty, what do you got with CBA over there?
Nick Sullivan, big double for us. He ran 4:20 off of us, I think a 73 or 74 first 400. So that was pretty cool. He came back and ran 921. We had Joe Barrett, sophomore, run 916. Unfortunately, he didn't get to race Brian Bowler. Brian Bowler ran in the unseeded heat and ran 300ths faster. It was lame. But I also had a kid named Kevin Allen, who is a senior. He's going to TCNJ next year. Just started figuring out the sport this winter, ran 929.
Very nice. Baker, what do you got?
I got 2 state champs with Fabian Gonzalez, the thrower, shot put, and then Cole Kramer in 55 dash. And Santino with a big PR in the 2 mile 933.
So, anyone listening right now, it's easy to see. We have some of the best coaches in the state, and I'm not putting that lightly. On this podcast right now, a lot of success. You're going to see, they're going to be at Mox. There's going to be a lot going on, Meet a Champs with them. So we have some of the better minds in New Jersey to jump on here. So I just want to jump right into it. We were lucky enough. We got a question given to us from Twitter, from the Let's Run Long Sleeve T-shirt Twitter account, which is kind of a funny little account, but they actually gave us a nice question over there. So this is the one we're going to start off with, guys. They would love your opinion. How much success is it the coach versus the athlete, talent versus steering the talent? So Tafelski, I want to start off with you. What do you think about that?
Well, it's definitely both, but unguided talent is a real shame. I think it's our responsibility, and I think it's a tremendous responsibility to guide the kids as they get older. These are formative years in their life, and so I think on their own would they be able to accomplish things without a coach? No, but of course there are certain physical, psychological attributes that are going to predispose somebody to be successful. So it's a false either or for sure.
Geiger, jumping to you. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump on to what Chris said. It's certainly not exactly one avenue or the other. For our job, it's setting up a structure for them to get the most out of their abilities, to enjoy the sport, I think is the first part, particularly in high school, and give them that avenue to, dive into their abilities and to find what they're capable of. But without the talent, the athletes are going to get so far. But at the same point, we are also looking to get the most out of what they have available to them.
McCafferty, where you at in this one?
Yeah. So I think you can't look at it as black and white on that. I think that all good athletes have a system in place that guides them in the right way. And I don't think there's an athlete without a coach that's good. I don't think there's a coach without an athlete. Certainly at the high school level, you hear some pros coaching themselves, but most pros, even if they're coaching themselves, have advisors that are coaches that kind of guide them a little bit. So I think our jobs as high school coaches is it's leading them into the future, whatever that may be. And I think it's a shared responsibility. And I think it's a shared, coach athlete relationship is what makes someone successful.
Baker, what's your opinion on this one?
I mean, I have to follow right with everyone else. Like it's not the athlete, it's not the coach, it's how they commingle and how they work together. I mean, you could have a really good coach and a really good athlete, but if they can't work together, it doesn't work anyway. So.
Nalvin, you get the last word I'm going to ask a follow-up here, so go for it.
So I think everything pretty much has absolutely been said, but I think sometimes the athlete can make the coach look really good, and sometimes the coach can make the athlete look really good, and it absolutely is a two-way street, and there's many angles too. But I think it's like everybody said, it's everyone working together.
Nice, and
I agree. I think Sean actually had a very valid point. I think definitely it's way more 50-50 at our level, like the high school, certainly middle school, high school, like athlete and coach needs each other equally. But as you get older, I do think that the athlete has to take on more responsibility in order to obtain everything that they want to do. But at this level, I agree with everyone. It's got to be a bond, and it has to be something that you believe in each other.
Wilfredo, is that you down there? Did you jump in, Coach Rivera? No? I see iPhone down there. I don't know if he popped in or tried to.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm trying to figure out my camera. I don't know what's going on, man. Technology's letting me down tonight.
When you figure out your camera, we'll let you jump in. How's that sound? Because I want to see your pretty face.
Let's hold judgment.
So I want to do a follow-up here because everyone here to a T that we have had on the show, you all talked about relationship building in terms of with your athletes. And I think you all had similar views on, positive relationships with your athletes are extremely important. I think you guys have all went about it in a little bit different ways, but it's gotten there. How much does that help in terms of bringing out the talent? And do you find that that's just as much in coaching as it is in terms of the X's and O's and setting up the meets, and things like that and putting them in the right events? Who do I want to go to first here? Baker, since you were last, Nalvin was last. You go first, actually.
All right, restate the question again now. What was that again?
Restate the question. So in your opinion, how important is it in relationship building in order to kind of bring out that talent? Is that as important in coaching as it is in the X's and O's of it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it is. And actually, as I'm a middle school teacher, and I've had a couple of really good kids that I've had a chance to coach where I taught them in middle school. So I got to see them from 7th and 8th grade and then coach them all the way through high school. And to have that journey has been pretty cool for a couple of my really top kids to see them as 7th graders to senior young men. And we had that journey that we've gotten to go through. And that's a great way to see this big change occur throughout their whole lives.
Baker, have you found that there's any athletes where your relationship got better with them and their performance got better? Have you found that that's a type of thing that works out there? It's
like the chicken or the egg. What came first? Generally the more higher performance level they are, the better relationship you have with them. Like my top level kids. But now that being said, like my younger kids that don't contribute, you still have like a relationship with them, but they always want to strive. And I think that the important part is to teach them a little bit of autonomy so they can make choices on their own. And then they're comfortable making choices on their own. As a coach, do you want to tell them they're wrong all the time? No, you want to make a mistake, but learn from it. And I think you set up a relationship with the kids where they can make mistakes and they can still grow from them.
So, Coach McCafferty, as you have an athlete that's struggling, how hard is it sometimes at the high school level to keep that relationship where you're trying to coach them up, you're telling them the right things are going to happen, and then they're not seeing the results? Do you find that sometimes it's tough at the high school level to keep that, faith and trust in the relationship there?
I found this. The younger kids, the kids that are on the rise, don't struggle as much because they're just constantly getting better. I have found this with some of my better athletes over the years, and sometimes it's a couple weeks, sometimes it's a couple of years of them struggling, and it's usually a confidence thing. And I found having the relationship with them where you can take the onus in their faults and kind of, whether it's right or wrong, and you can take some of that pressure off of them by, again, taking all, like, hey, you ran a bad race. That's because we did this, this, and this. It's my fault. I think that's really important, but you have to have that relationship where they can trust you and, believe in what you're telling them. Because sometimes when you get to that point, you lose them and it's tough.
So, Tafelski, keeping on the relationship path, have you encountered with you and an athlete on the rise, starting to run well, starting to figure it out, and boom, an injury occurs and they come back, and then boom, another injury occurs as they're coming back up? How tough is it to keep a kid in high school engaged when they see something like that happening?
Yeah, I've actually got a couple of guys in that boat right now. Actually, one of my guys who did very well this weekend at the group meet is a kid who only raced 3 races all year last year. Wow. We got him healthy enough to run the groups, the MOCs in the winter, and the nationals. He ran our sprint med, and those were the only races he ran all year. He had a hamstring problem, and then right after the national meet, his back started hurting, and it turned out he had a lumbar stress fracture. So that took him out until like August. So really, I think that's where your relationship with the kid matters the most. Is you know that, like, hey, I'm in this with you. You're still a member of the team. You're still important. You can still create a role for the kid so that they can still contribute to the team even though they can't do it in the way that they want, you can still keep them engaged and make them feel like they matter. I think the worst thing that happen with kids who get injured is when they disappear, because then it's a double whammy, right? So now, like, all right, I can't train, kids focus on all the things they can't do, right? It's our job to keep them focused on the things that they can still do. And so in those situations, it's, keeping them invested, they disappear and then they lose the social aspect of being a part of the team as well. So that's one of our expectations we communicate to parents when kids get injured is rehab is your training. It's just as important as your training, and you're still expected to be there and make an impact.
And Geiger, what's your Dave, go ahead. You were going to say something.
I was going to ask a Geiger question. Being that your school is a little smaller in size, how important is it to get that bond from, when they first walk in as a freshman, as opposed to maybe a school that has larger numbers where maybe, they can build it more over time? Do you feel that being in a smaller setting it's vital to have that relationship with each and every athlete?
I think regardless of school, the relationships are going to be vital. I think it might be a little bit easier for me to do than the larger schools like the South Brunswicks, the Southerns, to make some of these relationships, because you think about that little 80-20 rule, 20% of your team scoring 80% of your points. So a lot of your time is going to be spent on the more high-performing athletes. It's just that with the smaller school, my time, I can see and talk to more often each and every single athlete we have, as opposed to the larger schools that might not have that opportunity to have as many conversations.
Nice. So I think we got you. Coach Wilfredo Rivera, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I think I'm here.
All right, what's up? So tell everyone who you are. We let everyone introduce themselves. Tell everyone who you are, Coach.
Wilfredo Rivera, coach at South Brunswick. Boys, girls cross country, boys, girls distance, most part.
So we started off with the first question. We had a question that came to us from Let's Run Long Sleeve T-shirt Twitter account, which is awesome. And I want to give you a chance to answer it. How much is success is the coach versus the athlete, talent steering or the talent?
I think the kids are the ones that do it. So, I think a lot of what you can get out of the kid is, what the kid's willing to give. That being said, I think coaches come in the sense of maybe sometimes tempering, some of the better kids, holding them back from maybe hurting themselves. So I kind of see the coach as you're kind of the facilitator. You might come up with a training program and, you're just there to watch and guide them. But at the end of the day, they do it. So you got to have good kids and you got to have, I think, consistent coaching or coaching philosophy. And I think that leads to ultimate program success and kid success.
So, I actually have an off-topic question here. We sent you guys a few of them, but I'm curious from all of you guys. I think I'm going to get similar answers from you, but I don't know. I'm curious, as coaches, all of you here, how do you guys gauge your success as a coach? Because I don't think we get asked that all the time. We talk about our team success, what's our goal here, but when you're guys looking at it, and I know all of our goals, if you're being a successful coach, what does that look like to you being a successful coach here? Geiger, I'm going to give you a chance. Go ahead. You go first.
Okay. First thing and foremost, I look at the kids themselves. Are they having fun? First and foremost, we want to provide an avenue for them to make their own relationships, to give them a place to challenge themselves and see themselves improve in the sport. So obviously times and all of that, we do see the improvements. It's not necessarily how many champions we have created, but we do see, those who are starting off in a good place, can they become county champion, state champion, qualifiers? But we're also looking at the other levels and seeing, can they, start competing and possibly scoring points in these other meets, or just seeing their own, personal records. You guys are giving them an avenue to be announced and place to where they can hear their own names and seeing their own improvements week in, week out.
Nice. Will, throwing that to you. What is your idea of success as a coach?
I think, part of the success maybe is, enjoying it. I think sometimes you kind of see it as a job. So just kind of maybe just enjoying the time spent, the relationships built. I mean, I think I'm starting to feel like some of the success might be, when kids come back, especially kids that come back that say maybe, they miss it. I think that's, kind of a testament to maybe your impact when kids are older and they come back. I mean, we've been fortunate enough where we've had some guys come back and coach with us. And that's really cool. So, I'd say, I don't know, Nalvin seems upset or something or excited.
You stole my answer, man. We're so in sync. That was going to be my answer.
Yeah, Nalvin, go ahead. Go ahead, Nalvin.
That was my Stockton to his Malone. There you go. Dunk it.
Will and I have a unique relationship because we went to high school together, college together, and coaching together. So our brains are pretty much in sync. But that's exactly what I was thinking of. One of the things that we've had success on is because we came from a great program and we saw, while we were in high school, these older guys from college come back and just visit us and run with us. And then we've seen that here in our program. And a couple of our guys now have come and coach with us. Most of our staff are guys that were a part of our team. So the fact that they keep coming back means we're doing something right.
Definitely. Sean, what's your idea of success?
It's always a tough question. I really like what Geiger said about, the kids' happiness. I think every school's a little different. Christian Brothers Academy is very different as a Catholic school. And our goal, again, is to produce, good young men that can contribute to their communities, whatever community they choose to be part of. With that said, I mean, we're teaching them to excel. We're teaching them to achieve at high levels. And I think that, they can set their goals wherever they want, but teaching them how to strive for their goals, whatever they may be, I think is a really important aspect of what we do. Because at some point in life that may be running a business and striving for a goal, and, teaching them how to set those things is really important. But, once they graduate, I'm hoping that they're happy, positive kids and, willing to take on the world and whatever world they choose. So,
Baker, questions over to you. What's your idea?
I mean, you got it right there, Sean. It comes down to what does this sport teach them? It does teach them how to deal with the setbacks and the triumphs and everything else. So never too high, never too low. And if you take that approach to it, when it's all said and done, how they approach stuff that's not track and field related, how do they handle that stuff? And you see them in school and you see the maturity on it. And you're just proud of those kids, and they come back and when they're doing something more, to see that that's my badge. That's what I want.
Tafelski, close this one out. Put a bow on it.
Yeah, I think, we're looking for kids who, they come to you as freshmen and, they don't really even know how to tie their own shoes. And then when you get them out as seniors, you're sending them out into the world. And so you're looking for that personal growth, that they've been through. They've hopefully, they've made some tremendous memories and they've forged some great relationships through the trials that the sport is just naturally gonna give a kid. They've learned how to succeed the right way. They've learned how to fail and rally. One of the things we have in our locker room is the teacher, there's that checkbox. This is old, right? But the common application, there's a checkbox for the teacher recommendation. And a bunch of them are academic stuff, but then some of them are concern for others, motivation, reaction to setbacks, like Baker said, things like that. College, they want to know from the teachers who are recommending them, what's this kid's character? Right. And I think the sport is a tremendous vehicle for teaching and instilling those kind of character traits in kids. So then the question we ask them is why do colleges want to know that about you? Why are they asking me that question as someone who's writing your rec? Right. And because those are the qualities that they're looking for in their student body. Right. And so my goal is that, okay, you came to us as whatever, and you're going to leave ready to leave.
So I have a little bit of a transition for us lower level coaches. I coached middle school for quite some time over at Manchester, and I always prided myself on always communicating with Coach Griff there about, what he wants and what my role was to get these kids ready for high school. The question I want to know is, do you guys interact a lot with your middle school coaches? I know that this question might be hard for Sean to answer, so I kind of want to hear his answer first. But do you guys have any relationship with your coaches at that younger level, and do you talk to them about things that you're looking for so that they can help them get ready at the next level? So Sean, I know you're in a little different of a situation where you don't have one middle school per se where everyone goes. So if you can start us off.
Yeah, the guy with the hard answer here. Yeah, I not really at all. There's just too many kids from too many different places. I think one of the issues is I get a mix of kids. I get some kids that are super talented and really want to come to CBA to run. But then on the other hand, I get kids that have no idea what's going on and just want to join a team. And so, I would, if I were talking, when I used to be at Homedale, when I talked to the middle school coach, I wanted one of two things. Either you give me freshmen that are super prepared to run fast, like Baker gets, not Scott Baker, but Nick Baker at Haddonfield gets. He has continually gets kids 450, 440 as eighth graders. Not a lot, but he gets those kids because he's had, I think his wife was the middle school coach for a long time, which, that must have been a good mix. But, and the other thing would be kids that are just excited about the sport, no matter how good they are. So one of those two things, when I was at Homedale, one middle school coach we had, I'd get like 50 boys on the cross country team, freshmen. They were all excited to be there. It was awesome. Got a new coach and I would get like 3 or 4, but they were all really focused and pretty good at running already. So, and both kind of produced good kids. So either way, to me, that would be what I'd look at.
Nice. Baker, how about you? Because I know like your middle school program has had so much success. It's amazing.
There are middle schools right across the street from our high school, so it's nice. So like for cross country, we go to all their meets. Like their whole team that we plan our practice about going to watch their cross country races. Do I talk with the coach much? I mean, we're cordial. He's an older gentleman that was a track guy back in the day, and he does not want any input from me. Like I try, and he doesn't want it. And he's turned some kids away. Like he's turned some kids that were pretty good athletes, and they just can't turn them away. So a lot of my time spent roping those freshmen and sophomores back in. Not so much for cross country because I'm there for it, but for the track guys, we lose a lot of the track guys. So it's a matter of going back and beating the hallways up to try and get them out. Okay.
Yeah. Geiger, how about you? I used to race against your coaches there when I was at Manchester. Super nice people, but I didn't always feel that that they might not. And you don't have to answer this. This is just my opinion. Like, I remember like it's hard to find middle school coaches that are really kind of know what they're doing. A lot of them are just doing it because it's a paycheck. So, can you talk about maybe some of your experiences that you've had with the coaches at that level?
Sure. I mean, for a while, our AD kind of wanted to keep the things completely separate. So there was no real interaction. And when I started coaching cross country, I was bringing my team over, there's a home meet, let's go watch. Let's just be there, be visible. But in terms of the interaction with the coaches, there wasn't that much. New AD comes in, I keep inviting them over to the track during the season. Come on over, we have it here. Come on, practice. Again, exposure, have them see what's going on. And, it's one of our coaches actually went down to the middle school he was teaching there, which also certainly helped the past couple of years immensely with getting bigger numbers coming out now. And the transition point is a little bit smoother than it used to be.
Nice. Chris, how about you?
We actually do not have a middle school program. So,
wow, really?
Yeah, there's the local Y has they have one that they do. It's the Westfield area team, and we don't really have much interaction with them, much at all. I mean, they're nice people and everything, but they used to train on our track, but the scheduling on our facility just got so difficult that they went elsewhere, which totally makes sense if you're them. So, but our schools, we don't have a program.
That's crazy. All right, Geiger and Adam. Will and Adam. So, Will, Adam was actually your middle school coach for quite some time, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had some coaches, a lot of coaches actually come up from the middle school to coach at the high school. For me, at least the middle school to me is, it's great. They have large numbers. The kids, they do a lot of things. It's fun. Distance runners might long jump. They do some different things. So I'm just hoping that the kids are having fun, and when we get them in the high school, obviously they adapt and adjust to how we do it at the high school. But some middle school coaches, like I said, over time, I know the middle school coach now, Dennis Shoro, he's pretty serious, and he runs a good program. So that's how I look at the middle school situation.
All right, Adam.
Yeah, I actually started out my first year, the very first season I coached was coaching middle school cross country and spring track, and particularly with spring track. I noticed I was way too intense to be there. Way too intense. It was a big social hour, and that was not the place for me. So, like we said, our program, they do have fun. They're social, and they enjoy it. And as long as they come to us, having some passion about the sport, that's great. I do teach in middle school, so sometimes when we have some kids that are, I'm noticing are a little higher level kids in 8th grade, I'll make my point to go say hello in the hallway and introduce myself just to kind of get a sense of what the personality is, just to kind of see what their background is on the sport. Have they been into for a lot of years, or are they just kind of just picking it up and we're naturally good at it? So I'll just kind of just to get to know them, and then, hey, you'll be seeing me at the high school next year, and leave it at that.
It's always good. I remember being in middle school, like with any sport, whenever like the high school coaches were there, like it was a cool thing. So I think that's always a good thing whenever like the high school coaches can either, make their way to like, what Geiger was saying, like try and make their presence at a meet, and 6th graders looking at a 12th grader, they're like looking up and it's like, oh God, there's a grown man watching me race. So it's like, it's pretty cool. I want to jump into a topic that I think, we've all touched on, maybe on the podcast that we've done, but technology, specifically super shoes. I think that is like the biggest thing going right now. The super shoes. I want to get your guys' opinions on what type of advantages they have now. I think all of us kind of look, I'm definitely, not to offend any of you guys, I'm younger than all of you, but we've all come from, my advantages of like shoes and technology wasn't like a jump that from you guys had. But like now I feel like they definitely do have some advantages. A lot of the new tech, like your Strava and things, they can keep track of everything together, and the super shoes and things like that. So I want to know your guys' opinions on what type of advantages and advancements these athletes are having now, not only at the high school level, but the things that you see in collegiate pro and all that going on. Baker, I'm going to let you start off first.
I mean, freaking the shoes and the tracks are just so phenomenal right now. The races are going to get faster. And then you got your Strava. It could be a blessing and a curse. Like the kids are so worried about what their paces is. They're not running by any kind of field now. It's like, oh, I'm not running sub-7. I'm going too slow. So they have to, how do they do that? And then you have the kids that want to run a tempo run, but they want to run it in their, like the Vaporflies. And next thing you know, like, really? Like just, I'd rather do it in like a clunky shoe. And it's, but so that's the battle. And then they have injuries now because like I have some kids that just, even my slower kids, they spend $250 on a pair of Alphas, and next thing they're trying to train, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I don't know. If I'm a high school coach, if I'm sending them on like a long run that's not supposed to be like crazy hard, I'm like, give me your watches right now. All of you, watches. Like, I don't want you on Strava right now. Like, I don't know how you guys do it. Nalvin, jump into you. What do you feel about this?
I mean, the super shoes are definitely making a very big difference, but I think at this point it's almost really in the last year or two becomes like an arms race of if you're going to compete at the state level, you have to have them. We had a kid a couple of years ago that was just getting beat all of a sudden by guys that he'd been beating, and all of a sudden just falling behind, and then got the shoes and I mean, we'll tell you it was a drop, and it was okay. He is just as good as them, but the shoes made him fall behind. So if you're going to be that competitive, it's just the way it is. Like you pretty much need to have them at this point.
Geiger, what's your feeling on all this?
I mean, it's funny because in my AP stat class, we did have a discussion about the super shoes and effect size, AP statistics. So I think enough data is there now to say that they are certainly a benefit. The tracks, obviously, all these other factors are going to come in. But yeah, the super shoes are a bonus in terms of a competitive advantage. And at the high school level, though, as Adam was kind of saying, suddenly his athlete needed to get him to be competitive at the highest level, I think is going to be a problem if you're going to bring in, the cost and all that type of stuff into it. Strava, all these other outlets, it's great, to track and do all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, start your Strava on the phone, put it away. Don't look at it until the end, but the running by feel is definitely something that's going to be needed to get back to these kids to learn.
Tafelski, what you got there?
Yeah, I think the equity issue is more problematic for me than anything else right now. I think over time that may stabilize as it, maybe the cost will come down, as it's not the cutting edge technology. But I wonder. And Adam and Will, I remember having a conversation with you guys about your athlete with the shoes. I would wonder how much of it is the shoes and how much of it is the belief that you have now that you have the shoes. And, like, oh man, now I'm ready to rip, like there's a psychological component too that I don't think you can ignore. But I mean, the internet changed everything. You go back 20 years and all of a sudden everybody had access to everybody else. That's technology too, so sometimes it comes in little baby steps and sometimes it comes in big jumps, but unless we're all going to go back to, cinder tracks and all that stuff, I mean, this is just, it's only going to escalate from here.
McCafferty, what do you got there?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with a lot of people on this one. I don't think the super spikes do as much as people think. I think the pandemic changed the way people train. And I think a lot of people saw they were doing time trials and running those boutique races. And it was kind of like, wow, we're running very fast off of all this threshold training. I think the Ingebrigtsen's training has changed a lot as well. If you look at the world records, they really haven't changed all that much. So if the super shoes were really working very well, I think you'd see something there. And I'm not talking about the road racing ones. That's a whole different ball game. But I don't think the super spikes have caused all that much. I mean, the kids I'm coaching have run faster, but I don't think they're doing anything that is wildly different than what kids I've coached in the past have done. But they're on Strava. They're on, we use Final Surge to log, but the kids are on Strava. They see what everybody else does. They're watching these videos. I mean, we have these Friday nights where we have a group chat with a whole team where we're just talking about the races that are going on across the country, college and pros. And it's wild like that. I didn't have that in high school. And I also take offense to when you say the shoes technology didn't change from when we were in high school. I will say that and Geiger, you can back me up on this one. Like when we were in high school, you could buy maybe one or two different types of spikes. Yep. And by the time I was at the end of my college career in 2001, there was a bunch of offerings. So I think that technology has popped up all over the place. And I'll finish this with a little anecdote. I had a discussion with a longtime track fan, New Jersey track fan years ago, and they said kids are running faster at Homedale Park because the course is nicer and cleaner and better. And I just looked at him. I said, yeah, man, but it was about the roses. I said, yeah, they ran 8:40 for the 2 mile. And one of them was going to break 8:40 for the 2 mile before they stopped the race. And he kind of looked at me like, oh yeah. So I think that I think sometimes we forget that progress happens and we forget that these technological advances, there's something, but we can't sit around and be the old guys all the time and say, well, that's just, I mean, honestly, we have super spikes. Gebre Selassie's 5K, those records, not Gebre Selassie, but who's the guy who broke? Yeah. I mean, those records aren't really, they went down a couple of years ago, but it wasn't by a lot. It was by a second and a half, 2 seconds here and there. I don't know. I do think the road racing shoes, they have revolutionized our training. The kids use them for tempo runs and interval work, and it's just, I never let kids wear spikes for intervals ever. I mean, unless we're doing fast stuff, like really fast stuff, but usually we use trainers, and they use those now, and they can recover so much faster from when they wear those shoes. It's unbelievable. So that's where I think it is, but I don't think the spikes do as much as people are letting on.
Will, what you got on it?
I mean, like anything, I think knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you have available to you. So definitely seeing what other people do doesn't hurt. It lets you know, hey, if that guy can do a run or a tempo at this, then maybe I'm in the ballpark if that's something that a kid needs. Again, I think it's all anecdotal, but to me, the spikes help. I wish we could have pros run in their spikes and then run in some old spikes and just see a difference. But, I think they definitely help. And even if it's placebo, even if Nike has just run another, it's got to be the shoes. And the kids, people have bought in, it's definitely there. The results are there. I can't tell you, I go to Twitter, how many, Villanova, school record, this one, school record, everyone's, school record, American records, world records, everyone's getting the records, which is awesome. So maybe we're in the heyday. Maybe we'll have, retrospective in a bit. But, I think the technology is always going to be there. I think seeing what pros are doing, their training being available for people to consume, I think that's good too. So I think a lot of it is just, the information is out there and people definitely want it. So it's being consumed in a way that's elevating performance.
So I have a follow-up to that. So in talking about the shoes, if there is data that comes out that, it seems like, most of you guys do think that the shoes that make an impact, the super spikes. So if it does come out that they are making an impact, that they are making athletes that much better, because, a second's a lot in track and field. That's a lot of time. I remember back, I forget how long ago, but it was a big talk at the Olympics for swimming that they outlawed certain swimsuits because they were giving everyone a much better advantage. Not all countries could have this style swimsuit. They outlawed them for the international meets. Do you see that this is something that possibly track might do, where they might look at the spikes and say, this is giving certain individuals far too much of an advantage? Maybe we should outlaw this. I'm going to start off. We'll go backwards. Will, what do you think? Should they outlaw the spikes if they find out that they're giving them that much of an advantage?
No, not at all. I mean, technology is there. There's demand is there because, there was a good while where you couldn't really find them. I mean, you really, depending on the size of the shoe now, especially the sprint shoes, it's hard to get. So, no, they're not going to stop. I mean, fast times, we want it fast. We want fast times. Yeah. So, anything that's going to help that in a legal, non-supplemental way, that everyone, I mean, I get what Chris was saying, the price is something that people have to consider. I mean, because it isn't just available to everyone. But I do think if your competition has something and that it can benefit you, I think the best kids are going to want to try to, get their hands on it. So I don't think it's going anywhere.
Sean, to you, should they outlaw the spikes?
No, I don't think so. My old man ran on a DM that ran 940 for yards back in 1968 on a muddy cinder track at the Penn Relays. Did they ban tracks after that? No. I think the spike issue is a little overblown. I think people are just better. And I think high school kids are better, which is making it so that for instance, Princeton recruiting, right? They don't have scholarships. They have a lot of good financial packages and everything. But when I was there, we used to lose kids to Stanford, Georgetown, all those schools constantly. Now there's so many good guys that go around that those teams are getting kids. And I think it's because people have been taking things more seriously. The kids started to look like, hey, I'm a high school kid, but I can pretend I'm a professional and I can sleep, eat healthy and train a little better. And lo and behold, and also I absolutely hate Tom Schwartz. I shouldn't say hate them. I hate the idea of the coaches that are coaches for hire, basically, CCG, all these guys. I don't hate them personally. I've only ever met Tom. He's a nice guy, but it's making the high school kids better. That guy that's at Joe Schmo High School in South Jersey or whatever that doesn't have a good coach or doesn't even have a coach that cares. Now you can get a coach, and if you're motivated, boom, like you can be really good. And that's making my kids better. That's making Tafelski's kids better. Everybody gets better when that happens. And I think that happened over the pandemic, and it kind of blew up. And for some reasons, I really like it. For other reasons, I dislike it. But I think that's a bigger pull than anything else.
I also think that kids now are running on much better tracks. The facilities. I remember when we were there, like Princeton was a great place, but you couldn't even wear spikes, or we had Red Bank or all these other, Chris was saying he had the Dunn Center when we had him on, now you can go to the Armory or Ocean Breeze. I mean, even the bubble, it's considered a slower track, but you could still wear spikes and it's made for track. So I think that having all these new places where kids can actually run is probably just as much of a benefit as any should. But that's just me. I
could definitely agree with that. I'm going to throw the question to you, Tafelski. Should they outlaw the spikes?
No, and it's never going to happen if Nike has anything to do with it. They're pretty powerful. No, I think, and Dave, to your point too, the fact that you have venues and information and, social media and all these things, all of them are a blessing and a curse, I think. Strava can be great, and it can be really, really hard for kids to manage. And so, you go into a venue like Ocean Breeze, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I never walked into a track and field venue and thought that when I was a kid, right? And so, I think that the sport has appealed to a broader base. I think, to Sean's point, you're engaging a greater number of kids in the sport. The sport has the highest participation rate of any sport nationally. So I think with a broader base, you're going to build a taller peak. I do feel like the shoes, do they matter? I think probably they do. I do think that the extent to which they help is overblown. I think there's so many other changes occurring at the same time that the scientist in me is just calling this a terrible experiment. That you've got too many variables going on at the same time here to put your finger at just one.
So, Geiger, I'm going to throw the question to you. I'm going to present it this way. What if we look at it as the corked bat, right? Or, putting a slick on the baseball? Is that something that might make you, if you can find that it does give a competitive advantage over others and that not everyone can do it? I get it. It's not illegal right now, but is that something that you would consider? Or do you think, are you with them? Nah, if they can get the shoes, wear them, running them.
I mean, yeah, it's the equity issue. And I think there's already some of these things in place. Athletes, we're talking about the elites here, can't run in these demo shoes that are not available to the public at large. So as long as that's in place and everyone has access to everything, then we're all good. Corking the back, going outside of that, you're actively trying to go past the rules as opposed to wearing shoes that are going to be allowed by anyone.
Got it. Nalvin, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think it's too late to turn back now. I don't think they're not making these shoes illegal at this point. So now it's just going to be, these are just, the times are going to just get elevated, and and that's going to help promote the sport at this point.
Good. Baker, closing out with you. What do you think?
I mean, jumping on everything's going to be commonplace with these shoes anyway. I mean, I think that's just the way it's going to be.
All right, so I was hoping to get some more disagreement, but I guess, all you guys want to see fast times. How dare all of you?
We've kind of touched on this in the past and in a lot of our podcasts. Do you guys feel that having all these new venues and all these times that are going fast through high school, college, and pros will definitely help us as a sport grow? Or do you feel that we need more things that have to be done, more televised events and more things? And just how do you feel that we are going about that as a USATF? Like, I was very disappointed about the USATF meet this week, how it was in Albuquerque. They had world records broken in other venues. Why do you think that we can't get, as a country, people to go to the national championship for our country? I'll start with you, Nalvin.
It's a tough one. I mean, I obviously, we all love the sport. We want to see it. We want to see it grow. I mean, I've talked to you guys a couple of times about it, that I do think there needs to be, sadly, to get the promotion of the sport going. I think there almost has to be like a professional wrestling angle on track and field. Like, there's got to be, some trash talking. There's got to be a little bit of storyline. It's got to be a little more entertaining. Americans have a real short attention span, and they want to be entertained in a short span. And most of these post-race interviews, man, these athletes are the nicest people ever. They're all so polite and so kind, and they're great, but gotta be a little bit of attitude somewhere down the line to get people talking. And I think that will attract the outside fans. But I mean, the inside fans are going to love it anyway. And there's been some absolutely amazing things. You guys have talked about it. Like, look at all just the great stuff that just comes from New Jersey alone. High school, college, and professionally. It's incredible.
What do you think, Steve?
I mean, for the track fan, I think first and foremost is the money available to the athletes. Without this, there is no incentive for the best athletes in the U.S. to go there and compete against each other. And you're looking at these fields and these finals, and you have to look up who a lot of these people are. I mean, you look even the sprints, who you're in Albuquerque, thin air, fast times. Outside of Hobbs in the 60 meters, you're looking at D2, top D2 athletes, guys that are winning nationals there, but where are the best U.S. guys? Where are the guys going to the Olympics, going to, every world championship? They're just not there. So at least for the track fan, there is no incentive to be at these indoor nationals.
Scott?
And actually, one more thing real quick, Dave, is that when you mentioned it, watching it on TV, that the fact that the Albuquerque meet was in the convention center, that it just happened to be built up that week for track, and they just probably had like a boat show or something the week before there. Like, that makes a big difference versus the other venues that are available. The one in Boston's incredible, Ocean Breeze. Like, there are those ones that are for track, not, whatever trade shows coming in next week.
Yeah.
There's that lack of energy to that.
Oh.
Yes. Can we have the distance nationals at BU?
Yeah.
How about you, Scotty?
I mean, the athletes got to get paid. I mean, it's a money thing. I mean, if you want those athletes to show up and run, they're going to have to pay them. Like, Noah Lyles pulled out this weekend. What incentive does he have to go run and get hurt? If his hip was really bothering him, why would he run? He's got no incentive. Like, we dump all this money into the Super Bowl and to the NFL players, and those guys are playing. So they have a venue. So then they have sports behind them. So you have something lined up and where people can watch and know what's going on. You don't have that in track and field. Like, athletes can go to BU and run faster times and get paid more for running a faster time than they could for showing up to USDF. So,
yeah, on that note, real quick, before you go to someone else, I think the winning time for USATF was like $6,000. I think if you were a national champion indoor, it was like $6,000.
It was.
That's freaking pathetic. And, it jumps on a few of you guys talk about the money. Like, yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
Sean?
Yeah, the USATF makes decisions that baffle my mind constantly. They're stuck in Eugene, Oregon. And listen, I've been to almost every Olympic trials there for the past whatever amount of years. It's great. and it's an awesome place to watch, but it's very hard to get to. It's very expensive to get there, especially in recent years. But they move the indoor one around to cities that, listen, New Mexico doesn't have winter track even for high school kids. They had it in Seattle a couple times. Like, there's no winter track there. I remember last year, I think it was there was some their outdoor championship. They mixed in some high school races, junior races, I should call it, and some masters races. And the final day, right before like the 215 or the men's 1500 final or something, they had the Masters 800 race. But 5 hours earlier, they had the U20 girls or U19 girls, and there were like 2 high school girls trying to break 2 minutes, and it was like a big deal, and like everybody on the internet was talking about it. And I think sometimes they're just so out of touch with the sport itself. I don't know how you host your USA Championship the same weekend as the cross country world championship. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I think shoe companies are out of touch as well. The whole concept, we have nationals in track. Like, there's 2 indoors, there's 3 or 4 outdoors. It's just the people running the show are out of touch with what makes things work. And I don't think guys not running races is new to track and field. It's been like that forever. But you're starting to see it in college football. If those teams don't make the Final Four, those guys don't play in games because, hey, I'm going to go to the NFL. I'm going to get paid. And I understand that. But USATF needs to look in the mirror and say, what are we doing? And how are we building our sport? And they're not doing a good job. They seem confused. They seem, it's sad to see. It's very, very sad to see.
Yeah. Will?
I think what, Sean was kind of alluding to, I think there needs to be some type of like streamlining. There's just like a lot of chefs in the kitchen, if you will. So everyone has ideas about what they want to do and they're driving a certain brand. But I think somehow if we could streamline it, it would work out. I mean, obviously when it's Olympic year, everyone's, getting going. Everyone is kind of looking in the same direction. But, world championships, you're not always getting the same kind of turnout in same fields. And I get it. People have different agendas, different motives, injuries come into play. But I guess if it was more streamlined, I think it would be something that could be consistently digested in the same way. You would have people tuning in consistently or getting new people in the fold with the personalities, because we have a lot of young personalities. There's a lot of young talent, and I feel like they can push the sport, but the decision makers have to kind of lean into that side.
I agree. All right, Chris, what do you got?
I think the biggest swing and a miss on this is that we have so many kids involved at the high school level. And I don't think the sport is marketed to them well at all. And I'm very disappointed in the lack of effort of just put track and field in front of high school kids. How much time do kids spend at track meets doing nothing? I mean, you could put, just through good social media outreach, you could put these personalities that Will's talking about in front of these kids, and kids who are into it and they follow it. But I think that those kids who are into it, and I think a lot of the kids in our programs are into it, but I think it takes them a while to get into it. Like the kids on my team, my upperclassmen, especially the top performing kids, they pay attention to the college level of sport. They pay attention to the professional level of sport. And a lot of times they know a lot more than I do. Because I think they just have more time. But I think it's a huge missed opportunity to just market the sport from the bottom up. I don't think you're really going to convert adults into track fans. But I think if you started right now with the existing high school cohort that there is right now and hook them and retain them as a fan base, you fast forward 20 years and you got a sport that's got a big following. And that I think, I'm not a marketing guy. This doesn't feel hard to me. And I think that there are some groups. I think Sidious Mag is outstanding. During Worlds, it was great. I was taking my kids to the pool in the morning, and then I was like, they would go down for a nap, and I would watch a little Worlds, put on their podcast. I painted a room with my headphones on and listen to their takes on the sport. And then I'd watch the evening session with my kids, and it was fantastic. I do think the Worlds was too long. I think, I don't know what the solution to that is, but I thought they just rented a house and they got the athletes to come hang out in the backyard in between sessions, and they go long form interviews. And some of these people that you would never even think to listen to had such great things to say. I mean, these little upstart guys got Seb Coe and Michael Johnson and all this, just having a beer in the backyard talking track. These kids are doing it right. I'm calling kids. They're 25 to 30 years old, right? But they get it. And if you could do it on that model and just push it to track kids, fast forward 20 years and we're doing fine.
So kind of jumping on that, we had Sarah Slattery on, legendary runner, and she had an idea that no one else has talked about in terms of how to get outreach. And her idea was betting. Why don't we get betting more involved in the sport and, let people gamble on races and try to make money? That'll talk. And we were kind of talking about the ins and outs, and I said it would basically have to be like horse racing, right? Because you don't know every athlete, and it would kind of be like a potluck, a win race show, or whatever it is. I forget what it is. Win place show. Yeah, win place show. What do you guys feel about bringing in betting into this? Sean, I'll let you go first.
So Tafelski and I have running bets on high school sports. We never cash in on it, but whenever Westfield is going against CBA, in some sport that we know nothing about. So this year was swimming. Last spring it was golf. I'm 0-2 right now. He's beaten me twice. I have the same thing with Nick Baker and Scott Baker too. When Southern goes up against CBA, and it's a fun thing we do. But Mike Mazzacaro also owes me. No, I owe him $2. The Penn Relays, we used to sit and watch the 4x4s, the high school ones. We never exchange money, just so everybody knows, we never exchange money. It's a playful thing.
NJSIAA, calm down.
But pick a team. And the idea was you never pick a local team. You just pick a random team. And it doesn't matter if they were last or whatever, whoever finished first. So, I think there is something to that. I think tapping into the high school kids and the youth sport and the road racing sport, quite frankly, it would probably be more important and more successful. But gambling, it might do something to the sport. But you ever go to a horse track?
Yeah, I love it. I love Saratoga. I go to Saratoga Springs every year.
Yeah, how often do you go though?
At least once or twice a year.
Yeah, I mean they're like.
But off-track betting is
what
massive.
I'm getting at.
Off-track betting is massive, though. It really is. It is. You have people paying attention and people that fall in love with horse racing just because they can go to the OTB and they start to follow the sport and they'll follow jockeys and they'll follow. So I feel like because we're so fragmented, right? I think we've all talked about we want to get teams and we want to do like an actual league. And that's, I don't know if anyone's going to ever do that, but if we can track so-and-so on Brooks or that one's for Puma or, okay, I know they had, so I don't know, there might be something to that.
Maybe. I agree that the whole setting up a professional league and everything is never going to fly. That seems silly. But the problem is there's too many moving parts and there's a system in place already that you'd have to completely blow up. And it's a system that's rooted in over 100 years of, the Olympics, World Championships, things like that. I just don't see that happening. But betting is something that might, might work.
Baker, what's your opinion on betting?
Yeah. Make it interesting for sure. I mean, you talk about now following stuff, you figure, okay, this athlete went to this coach, that could change something, or, they're running like with this event, and you start paying more attention to stuff. But like, I think the diehard fans are still going to be the diehard fans. So you have the inside track there. I mean, it's interesting. It'd be kind of fun. Like, I'd throw a couple bucks in, I guess. I don't know.
Do you think that would expand more outreach if like you could sit there and talk to like the casual, like to maybe pay attention? And even if it starts like in the Olympics, like, hey, DraftKings is now sponsoring the Olympics. You can bet on blah, blah, blah in this race and who's going to be the fastest in the world. Like, do you think that might catch the casual to kind of maybe bet on some bigger races?
I think there's some guys that bet on everything, and no matter what it is. So I think that's going to happen. But I don't know if you catch the casual, like you pull more track fans in that way. You just pull more betting in. I was it Chris that said about the youth, bring the high schoolers in, bring the little guys in, and let them see it. Like when you go to Penn Relays and they're just hanging out in the fields and just playing the entire time, that's amazing for those kids. Like they have so much fun just because they're just hanging out with other track kids and seeing different things.
Tafelski, I'm going to bring the betting trifecta here. What do you feel about it?
I don't know. I'm a little conflicted on it. I don't know. Maybe it's the educator in me knowing how many high school kids are mixed up in this at a young age. I don't know if it's a good thing. So that part's a little problematic for me. I don't know. I don't really have like a super strong opinion on whether it would work. I haven't really thought that part of it through that well.
All right, Nalvin, what's your opinion?
I think the gambling could certainly help bring in some outside fans, whether they're going to be, degenerate gamblers or people that are going to enjoy the sport. I'm not sure. I don't know if having like a beer garden at a track meet might serve better than an off track gambling type thing, but I think it would be problematic for like the high school level. I don't think you want to have obviously any kind of gambling going on at the high school level. I mean,
absolutely not
Mr. Geiger's math class is already discussing super spikes. Doing gambling odds. Everyone in Lacey High School is going to want Mr. Geiger's math class because this is where they're going to get the advantage. When does the registration open, Steve?
Will, what do you got on this? What do you think about betting for track?
I mean, I think getting personalities to meet, I know it was a failed experiment, but I remember when they were trying to get the Michael Johnson.
Donovan Bailey?
Now I can't even remember.
Donovan Bailey.
Yeah, there you go. Right for the 150.
The 150?
Now, again, I don't know if I cared about it because I was a track guy and cared about it, but I remember that just kind of being a big deal. So I could see more showcase things that go beyond, but in a way that kind of Dan and Dave, you need a campaign behind it. You just can't just have a track meet. It can't be some Diamond League meet and just think that, oh, well, it's Diamond League, they're going to turn in. If you want casuals, you have to kind of create that, that story that matters. And if I'm basing it off anything that we see, that's how all these, YouTube boxers and whatnot. I mean, it's unbelievable the people that people care about seeing compete against each other. So if it's about the competing, if you got the personalities, I think you can sell anything.
That reminds me of like the match. That reminds me of like the match that they do in golf now every year where they just pit two people against each other that people care about. So yeah, Geiger, you're going to close out on this. What do you think about gambling for the sport?
I like betting. A lot of things going on for the responses that I feel like I need to make a comment about.
Go for it.
First off, horse racing. Me and a few members of my family, the My Racehorse, we are minority owners of a bunch of different racehorses. Authentic was one, Kentucky Derby winner, all that. But I got my sisters, watch her go out to a winner's circle. It's always fun, but minor share. But all right, let's see. I think it was Scotty who said about it isn't really going to help in terms of bringing the numbers into the sport, which I 100% agree. If we get it on DraftKings, you might get more eyes on the sport. They might not become fans, but at least the viewership, I think, is going to increase. I think just on a lazy day, you go on to DraftKings and you see something and you're like, oh, put $1 on it. And suddenly you're a little bit invested. Adam earlier talked about the WWE aspect of the sport, and that's going to help, which is just like the Donovan Bailey, Michael Johnson thing. The promotions, all that, I think will help. That is going to bring more eyes onto the sport than anything else. The gambling itself, although fun, is not going to actually promote the sport, but it will be fun for those who want to put $1 or $2 on something. And I don't know if I missed anything else there from previous comments, other than I did get a nice lunch. One Meet of Champions from Wilfredo. And chips. Yeah, and chips.
You got to include the chips. Chips got to be.
He's a man of honor.
I think I owe Geiger probably about $10,000 in
Dave and I
that we've bet in over the years.
UFC just
has some drinks or even track.
Didn't even know the guys. We just up to get this guy. He looks more cut. I like his attitude.
So, gentlemen, I think this was a really productive podcast. Loved all the perspectives. I think we touched on a ton of things. Got a bunch of different perspectives. Hyatt, what do you think?
I just want to thank everyone for being kind of the guinea pig of this format that we're having. Obviously, I think it went well. I think there's things that maybe we could do better in the future, but I just want to thank all of you guys for hopping on and trying to be a part and helping us out. And, it's always good to see different perspectives from different people that I greatly respect. And thank you guys.
Yes, we're going to be down the line. Baker, do you have any last things to say before we jump out of here?
Not so much, man. Thanks for having us all. It's all nice seeing these guys, and congratulations, Chris. Nice job this last weekend for you and your boys.
Sean, what do you got for us? Any last words here?
Yeah, thanks for having us on. I'm excited to go to a nice venue for the Meet of Champions in 2 weeks. It should be a lot of fun, and get ready for spring track after that.
Nalvin, what do you got for us?
It was great to see all of this is half of us here were old roommates at Rutgers and teammates, most of us here. So always good to get together and see the amazing coaching tree that came from our years at Rutgers. And there's quite a lot of us here, and there's even more out there. So that's a topic for another day.
Geiger, what do you got for us to close this out?
Well, thanks for having us, and I look forward to seeing our fellow coaches in a couple of weeks at Ocean Breeze.
Wilfredo, what do you got to close this out for us?
Once again, thanks for having us on. It's always nice to get together and catch up. Sorry I was late, but it's good seeing you guys. Have a great night.
And Tafelski, close us out here. What do you got?
Yeah, thanks for having us, and good luck to all you guys in the next couple of weeks. Should be a fun wrap up to the winter season.
Absolutely. So everyone, thanks again. Thanks for listening to the Oval Table, not the Round Table, the Oval Table. That's what we were calling this. But thank you everyone for listening. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. We had a lot of good conversation, a lot of good minds here. Most of the PRs, PBs that we are getting weekly are coming from this group of individuals. So we appreciate them greatly. We love giving shout outs to all their amazing athletes, and they're all doing great things in the state of New Jersey and beyond, things like that. So we're hoping to do more types of things like this, possibly have some of these gentlemen back, but do some more types of oval tables to do some different things with other people that we've had on. So again, everyone, we appreciate you listening. Go do all the sharing stuff. Find us on social media. We're going to get out of here. We'll be back next week. So long, everyone.